Welcome to the October 27th edition of the PFF Forecast, the Wednesday night edition. We are on to Check's Notes, Week 8 in the NFL. I'm going to say this every week. It's a week-to-week league, but I also forget which week it is because that's how quickly it moves. We're going to go through the slate, pick our favorite bets, and our lock of the week. Let's rock. All right, we are remote this evening, which hopefully this sounds okay. View is spectacular. This ring light is really bright. Maybe I should have turned it down. Who knows? But we're gonna power through. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing okay. I got to go and watch my daughter do ballet. That was fun, and I don't always get to do that because of the show. But this week. Plus, there was a big project I was working on, so I was just like, okay, I'm going to stay at home today and finish it. So, other than that...
What you're saying is that we're doing this remotely so that you could watch ballet class.
That's right.
Now,
very, very, so I don't end up with the divorce. Yep.
Right. Now, so my story about this, I have three wonderful younger sisters, and two of them did ballet class, and so I was 4.5 years older than my sister, who's just a little bit younger than me, and I was homeschooled, so I would always end up watching like ballet classes. Mm-hmm. I've seen the Nutcracker 100,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
And what I always found interesting was the different types of parents who came to watch. You had the dad who like stood in the back. You had the dad who like sat in the car and listened to the radio. You had like the mothers that would, go sit up in the like front row to watch class. Which dad are you?
I'm pathetic. So like the best part is, so Madeline, my oldest, played volleyball in the fall. She just finished. And so I'm the dad that during Saturdays has a game on ESPN on my quad,
okay,
on my phone. And then my wife hits me whenever Madeline serves. I look up, and then I'm the dad that's always like, when Madeline looks at me, I clap, make sure she's
very good.
And then
she never looks when you're looking at your phone, of course.
No, of course, yeah. So, and then Monday night they both play basketball for the first. Well, Madeline played basketball the 2019 pandemic year, pre-pandemic, and then they didn't play last year. But Chloe's coach didn't show up, so they both
did you
played
step
on
in?
Well, long story short,
you had to. You're a Cincy Y vet.
But actually, so they all practice together, and so the funny thing is, Chloe's in there, and she's a second grader practicing with a bunch of third graders, and they did conditioning drills. This coach the coach that Madeline has is madness. They had them running like gassers, and Chloe dusted everybody by 3 lengths. And I don't even think she knew that you weren't supposed to run your hardest on all of them, but she just did, and she was weirdly faster than everybody. So I kind of told my oldest, I'm like, your sister kind of dusted you there. You better get in better shape. And of course, that worked.
That must have worked really well. Yeah, that was the part of the show where parenting advice should not be taken.
Yeah.
Let's move into the slate this week. By the way, if you are looking for a way to use the tools that we talk about on this show, or you have a friend that needs some help, give this as a gift. The promo code is FORECAST, FORECAST, 25% off. You can get with an elite subscription. You get the betting dashboards, spread, money line totals, has all the power rankings on there. You get the power rankings tool, which is really interesting right now because it shows you the percent chance of teams making to the playoffs, winning the division, winning the Super Bowl, etc. Strength of schedule, which is really illuminating right now. Ton of great stuff. You get it for 25% off with the promo code FORECAST, plus all of the great premium content that you know and love. Let's start.
Well, by the way,
Thursday.
There have been a number of people that have reached out to us over the last couple of weeks saying thank you for the tools and all that kind of stuff. We really do appreciate those. It means a lot to us. So thank you.
Yeah, some very good friends of the podcast that we really appreciate. We appreciate everybody. It's nice to hear. Green Bay, Arizona, Thursday night, maybe the best Thursday night game since the opener. And I wanted to start with this. Devontae Adams goes out. The spread goes from 3 to 6, 6.5.
3.5.
What?
3.5.
Yeah, I did see some threes though in some places, but yeah, 3, 3.5 to 6, 6.5. Is that warranted in your opinion?
Well, so this was a great discussion that our friends Andy and Drew had on the Whale Capper. They do like a cool they do a live show during every single Monday
Halftime,
Sunday
yeah.
game. Thursday night.
By the way, Andy, I don't know if he's listening to this podcast, but like every time that I see that, I jump in and I comment like, Andy, get out of the cave. Because your boy is just in like it's the opposite of me. Like I look like I'm coming to you live from the sun. Andy looks like he's coming from the dark side of the moon.
So it's very interesting as a guy from Minnesota who is not the most outdoorsy, but you saw my house when I lived in Wisconsin. I kind of lived a little secluded, and like there's half of me that's a lot like you, where it's like I would love to live in like LA and nice weather and all that. Probably San Diego, maybe San Diego. And there's the other half of me that would actually like wouldn't mind like living like secluded in like where Andy, like in like Fargo or something like that. The former usually out rationals the latter, I will say. But they were talking about
we were talking about Devontae Adams.
Well, they were talking about how talking about players as what they're worth on the point spread is not necessarily the most clear way of discussing their impact on a game, because for example, last week on Thursday Night Football, when Baker Mayfield was announced out, that game was on 3.5, I want to say, and it went just to like basically 2.5 and then to 1.5. So really, it was only 2-point difference between Keenum and Mayfield. But if you're going through 3, it's really more than that, right? Because that 3 is worth more. And so to say the difference between those
so
two
many
guys
games end with a score of 3. So when you pass that number, it's not like passing through the number 5 where it's like that counts for more games won or lost, basically.
Right. And so when you looked at the Adams move, so it was 3.5, and people were already anticipating the Adams move. So you were seeing money on Arizona, and then the Adams move happened, and you saw it go out to 5.5, 6. People are like, oh my God, Adams is worth 2 points. And it's like, well, it's a different 2 points though, right? It's going through 4 and 5, which is worth less than 3 combined, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily as big a move. And then there's all the stuff that we've written about at PFF.com, which is that these are weak link systems. So if Adams, and especially in the case of Adams, where he's taking like the vast majority of the targets or plurality of the targets, maybe even the majority for them.
It's close. That's how many targets he gets.
Yeah, of the Packers. So then it's weak. It's an even weaker link system, right? Because the guy that's replacing him is actually not very good. And then to come to find out, Malik Taylor and Alan Lazard are also gone. And so you can see, and those are what the betting community calls cluster injuries. And so, as I said it last night on the VSiN pod, it was sort of like, it's not, football is such that 2 players gone from your team are not worth twice as many as one. It's usually a compounding sort of situation. And this game very much reminds me of what we saw last year in another Green Bay game when they went to San Francisco on Thursday night, and San Francisco was missing the majority of their roster. That game closed at 6 as well, and obviously the Packers blew them out despite Richie James having a big game. So that's
so. Are you saying that you're tempted by Arizona minus 6.5?
I think the ship has sailed there, but one thing I would bet is team total overs for Arizona. I would bet. I would even bet the over just because we already know J.J. Watt is out too. I think the Packers have advantage at head coach. I think they have advantage at quarterback, but after that, it's really nothing. And I know those are the 2 most important spots on the team. But the Cardinals, defense was not all that great to begin with. and they lose one of their best players. So I think the Packers will still put up points, but I think the Cardinals will, on that defense, a defense that did not force the Washington football team to punt one time on Sunday. I think overs and props for Arizona players, overs in team totals, and overall total for the game is probably the way to go if you missed out on Arizona as it was climbing up the ladder.
Couple of props actually that come to mind for me. The James Conner anytime touchdown. Now this is coming to you as a Kyler Murray fantasy owner. I'm just telling you right now. I'm looking forward to this game. I can't wait to watch this game. James Conner is going to score a touchdown. I'm just telling you right now. So you're welcome. The other one is no receivers, especially the guy that you throw to 45% of the time. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to scramble a few times, taking his over rushing prop. I haven't actually seen it up yet. Let me see see if I can find it. But those are two that I like. I also kind of like the over. Like Arizona's defense was something that the pass rush was exciting, but there were a lot of question marks elsewhere. And I do like what Matt LaFleur is able to do. I still think they'll be able to run the ball successfully against Arizona. So I wouldn't discount that total. I think it's at 50.5. Aaron Rodgers rushing yards at 9.5. Over, baby. Over. Statement game. And here's the thing for Arizona. They need to dominate this game. If they don't dominate this game, it is going to look bad. They're undefeated. They're playing a team without the best receiver in the NFL. So, and the best corner in the NFL. Jair Alexander's not playing. So they do need to dominate this game. Let's move on to the rest of the slate. Where would you like to start?
It's actually kind of a little rough.
It is.
But one place that I want to go is I want to go with Carolina at Atlanta over 46.
Okay. Talk me through it.
Well, both defenses. So a lot of people will give Carolina, some love for their defensive performance so far this year, but actually using our opponent adjusted grades, we make the Panthers 25th. We make the Falcons 29th. So two bad defenses. We make the Falcons 8th in opponent adjusted offensive grades. The offensive grade for the Panthers is understandably 29th. The Panthers minus 11 100ths of an expected point when they throw, minus 0.09 when they run. The Atlanta's been bad when they run, but they've been pretty positive when they pass. And especially, in that game last week, I put a sizable amount of money on Pitts to go over, and that was a cinch in like 2 catches.
Did well.
I think that they finally figured.
Let me ask you this. Sorry, I hate interrupting. How many tight ends would you take over Kyle Pitts right now?
Oh, I'm going to be very controversial, given I'm a Chiefs fan. That's a Marcus Allen jersey back there. It's Pitts, and maybe so. It's a group of Pitts, Kittle, Kelsey, and Waller. I have a hard time, given everything, taking any of those 3 over Pitts.
Wow.
Pitts. So it's just Pitts.
Really? You're taking Pitts?
Pitts lined up across from Xavier Howard, ran a go route and stacked on top of him and caught it like he was a wide receiver.
Kyle Pitts had an ADOT of 14 last year at Florida and is running routes, as you mentioned, all over the field against corners. He hasn't dropped a pass in 2 seasons. Last time he dropped a pass, he was like 17 years old playing at Florida. Dude, the dude is incredible, man. I think here's the tough thing. There's still a decent amount of projection with Kyle Pitts. But man,
I have a friend.
Kind of agree with you.
We both have a friend that we have a college to pro system at PFF. When the Falcons drafted him, I forwarded him the college to pro projection for Kyle Pitts, and I said that's like the best projection we've ever had for a player, relative to their position in the draft class. So,
okay. So one more question now for you. You extolled Kyle Pitts over Jamar Chase when we were discussing the draft. are you still taking Kyle Pitts over Jamar Chase if you were redrafting?
Yes. The scarcity is just so high there, right? Because when we talk about and actually, by the way, it's week 7 or week 8 now. PFF War is live. Let me for the season.
All right. You look that up. You look that up. I think I'm with you. I love Travis Kelce. I love George Kittle, and I love Darren Waller. But looking at what Kyle Pitts is doing as a rookie compared to what those guys did as a rookie, you have to put that in context. Like, he is already in that group as a young 21, 22, I don't know if he's 22 yet, so 22-year-old. And that has to be taken into account. If you're taking them right now, going forward, you have to take that into account. And I think that gives Pitts the edge. I'm actually closer on Chase and Pitts.
Okay, but here's my point for scarcity. Here are the top 10 players in PFF War so far this year. Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Cortland Sutton, Jamar Chase, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Chris Godwin, and Terry McLaurin. That's, obviously with Adams and Kupp, maybe Jefferson.
But you play more receivers, though.
True, but the scarcity is still there. I mean, if you want to go to the next 10, Pittman, Jacoby Myers, Tyreek Hill, Mike Williams, Antonio Brown, Christian Kirk, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Renfrow, and Emmanuel Sanders, DJ Moore. Like, that's second tier even, right? If you want to look, who's the second tier of tight ends? It's a bunch of...
Yeah, but you don't need a second tier of tight ends.
Should have made your list.
The difference is a second... Yeah, but the difference is a second tier of tight ends doesn't matter.
So this year in tight ends, it's Kelce is first in WAR, Andrews is second, Pitts is third, despite the fact that, much like Justin Jefferson last year, the Falcons didn't use Pitts in like weeks 1 or 2, or even 3. I can't remember when they started really using him. It's a scarcity issue, though, isn't it? Because, like...
Yeah, I guess the tough thing, though, is you're playing 3 wide receivers on average. You're playing 1 tight end on average, right? And that's a bit of a difference. I think I'm still taking Jamar Chase, and the reason is that he's been consistently a god.
Yeah, he's
for every single week of the season, and that consistency.
Imagine how good they'd be if they had pass protection.
And yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. Jamar Chase can play most of the positions Kyle Pitts plays. Like, that dude is an absolute beast. We're wandering off topic here. I like your over. I've got a couple that I love. I have a stinky one. I have a really stinky one. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
This is the addition by subtraction Big Stones pick of the week. The Chicago Bears plus 4 at home. Total 39.5. No Matt Nagy. He has COVID. Big bummer. You know who's really, really bummed about that? Not Justin Fields. Now, I am a little concerned because the Niners are coming off of a pretty embarrassing loss. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan is, a better coach than Matt Nagy. We get all that. But here's the tough thing about the Niners. They're not that good. They don't have a very good quarterback. Their defense is fine, but it's not that good. They're really not that good of a team. Now, am I worried about Nick Bosa eating Justin Fields alive? Yes. But here's the thing. The Chicago Bears, you are buying them at the bottom of the market for the second time in 3 weeks. And I learned something from you, Eric, that when the Chicago Bears are at the bottom of the market, people sell them quick.
People sell them. That number has moved out to 4. It was 3.5. We deployed a similar method when the now still winless Detroit Lions went to Soldier Field, and we were laying 3 with Chicago. The concerns I have with this, Khalil Mack's doubtful.
True.
Robert Quinn's on the reserve COVID-19 list. Akeem Hicks is questionable. He didn't play last week. The defense, as a result, so if you look at PFF.com, ELO ratings, those are immutable with respect to injuries. Mm-hmm. Those are just the team level baseline rankings. That's like, this is, we prior it with preseason stuff, and we move forward with how the teams have played. The offensive defensive rankings new this year are mutable with respect to injuries, right?
Yep.
And so we have the Bears with a 24th defense without those players, whereas the Niners are 8th. So that would be my only concern. That being said, the Niners are just not that good, man. And they need to start – if they – like, there was no reason they should have been favored against the Colts. There's no reason they should be favored against the Bears. I like this.
By more than a field
I like
goal.
It. Go for it.
Okay. Before we go on to the next game, if you are looking for a place, potentially a safe place, a safe space to place your bets, I recommend, we endorse DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sportsbook and betting partner of the NFL. Here's the deal. Use promo code PFF when you sign up and bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game this week. I wouldn't, bet on the Bears. There are probably some other teams. Maybe bet on the Bills to win their game. They're 13.5-point favorites. And when you do, you will get $200 in free bets. It's that freaking simple. Use promo code PFF when you sign up. Get all those free bets. Bet some same game parlays, some player props. Use the player props tool. It's free money for you. Go get that at DraftKings and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older in Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers are the ones that are eligible. Minimum $5 deposit. $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, when you look at football success, often you want to pair it with financial savvy. And those questions can be answered for you by our very own Chris Collinsworth, who's partnering with our sponsor, Western and Southern Financial, to share insights about his time on the field and how you can make your money work better for you. So you ask Chris a question and you'll get some financial advice as well. It's that simple. Check out the Chris Collinsworth podcast and Western and Southern's Instagram for the answers to the best questions each week. And to submit your question, go to westernsouthern.com/askchris. Ask him anything. Just be creative. Chris will answer a lot of questions. So westernsouthern.com/askchris and go have your question read by Chris Collinsworth. Eric, if you had to ask Chris a question on this, what would it be?
Oh, man. I don't know. Totally in a different stratosphere. But I do remember Chris saying when we were in Vegas with him once that he found out he made second team All-Pro while in Vegas. And did he not have his award check wired to him so he could gamble in Vegas? Wasn't that a story that he had?
You'd have to ask Chris. I don't remember it. You'd have to ask Chris about his All-Pro check that he got. That's a good question. I would ask him what his favorite and least favorite Halloween candy are. Also, Fantrax. They are the official fantasy league manager of PFF and the PFF forecast. If you're playing fantasy football and you're not using Fantrax, you're blowing it. If you're playing fantasy basketball, fantasy hockey, whatever the heck it is,
you're blowing it.
Yeah, true. Go use Fantrax. I don't know if they have a WNBA fantasy league or not, but when they do, Eric will use it. So go to fantrax.com/PFF, and you will become eligible to get a signed jersey that a few lucky fans will get when they sign up at Fantrax. So go make that happen. By the way, I'm saving the Manscaped read for a little later in the show for your guys' enjoyment. All right. Take me to the next game.
Oh, man. I don't like a lot here, but I do this week. But I will say, and we like this game at 6. It's now 5, so look at us. We're sharp, but I'm still going to go after it a little bit. New England getting 5 in Los Angeles against the Chargers.
Yeah, I guess the only tough thing I have
number
here is that, it's moved away from us a little bit. I still like it.
It's moved towards us.
Oh, it has. That's right.
Yeah. So it was 6. We got it at 6.
Yes. Sorry. No. What I mean is that I already got it at 6. I don't love endorsing it here this low. I sneakily, I'll say this. If I'm putting together a money line parlay, Bears and the Patriots are interesting.
So here's a trivia question. This is one thing I'll ask Chris. Who has a bigger big-time throw rate this year, Mac Jones or Justin Herbert?
Everyone would say Justin Herbert by a mile, and it's not.
Exactly. I think Mac Jones, now, he did it against our Jets, so really caveat. The Patriots are 3-4, 2 wins against the Jets. So all their records are sort of caveated, but still have Bulaga on IR. Mm-hmm. Still have Kenneth Murray on IR. You still have a terrible run defense and a defensive scheme that invites the run.
Mm-hmm.
A defensive scheme that we talk about this on the show, engineered to stop the Chiefs. So it's going to struggle stopping teams like Tennessee and teams like Cleveland and teams like New England, right? Who like to play smash mouth football. And that can play into, I also like in this game, I kind of like the over, actually, interestingly. I think this game, though, the Patriots sort of play, I think it plays closer than we think. And Kendrick Bourne, you look at some of the receivers, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne have actually played pretty well for New England. Jonnu Smith got involved a little bit more last week. Hunter Henry's been fine. Offensive line's been good. And the defense has been playing fine, and so I think everybody, and we were on, Green Line was on the Baltimore Ravens when it got to 2.5 against the Chargers. I do think the Chargers are just a little bit overrated because of how great Brandon Staley is and how much fourth down luck they've got.
Yeah. I mentioned this on Sunday night. I love the New England fans getting an opportunity to go to Los Angeles when the weather stinks. Fact that, I still don't think the Chargers can have that great of a home field advantage. And I mean, you mentioned Mac Jones played really well. I think that's just period. That's just too many points. I think you're probably getting a couple points advantage there. Obviously 6 was a little bit better. Okay. Let me take you to, we can't get away from this guy. Okay. It's the Geno Smith pick of the week.
Jeans?
The Seahawks are a 3-point favorite to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I actually kind of like Seattle -3, but not enough. What I really like is over 43.5.
Yeah, I like that.
Let me tell you why. The Seahawks played the Saints on Monday night in a very low-scoring game. It was played in a bomb cyclone against a New Orleans Saints defense that, if you looked at the New Orleans Saints play defense and you looked at the Jaguars play defense, you would think they were playing different sports. So 43.5, it's not a particularly high total. Trevor Lawrence also been playing a lot better. And the Seattle Seahawks defense, look, I don't need to tell you this, but they're not particularly great. Both these defenses, bottom half of the league. The Jaguars defense ranks just 31st in our opponent adjusted grading. So that, I think, is a great opportunity. DK Metcalf will eat against the Jaguars.
I like that. Jaguars showing signs of life on offense too. I think Lawrence, even though he has struggled, you've seen some things in him the last few weeks that have not been terrible. And yeah, both defenses are horrendous. Okay. I'm going to go with this. And I know I wanted it Sunday night. We got some Cleve.
Oh, I know what this is. Sunday night. I know what this is.
It's actually moved a little bit towards the dog here after moving out towards 3. But I'm going to take Dallas laying 1.5 against Minnesota. I think a number of things here are true. I think Minnesota is living off of some really good variance with respect to who their opponents have been. I think that they are playing offense as if the opponents on the other side of the field are not particularly good. And the only way I think that they win this game or cover the spread is if they completely change their mentality. And I just don't think that Mike Zimmer on a 2-game winning streak is willing to change his mentality.
You mean if they throw more?
Well, yeah. Well, not even throw more, just like be more aggressive. So I tweeted this out on early downs in the first 3 quarters of a game. The teams that, or the quarterbacks that had the highest depth of target are Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford. Mm-hmm. So four quarterbacks who are leading football teams that are going after buys right now, right? Mm-hmm. The 5 lowest are Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Jacoby Brissett, Ben Roethlisberger, and Andy Dalton. 4 backup quarterbacks and Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. So to me, that everybody's like, oh my God, Kirk Cousins, he has an 89.9 grade and blah, blah, blah. Well, in short samples, that's basically just measuring how well Kirk Cousins does what they ask him to do, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think what they ask him to do is pretty damning, which is to say, don't lose us the game in the first 3 quarters. And then, and I actually was a quote for this with the Washington Post, like, it's getting easier to score at the end of games. Defenses are not as good at defending end of game stuff. They have great wide receivers. And so Kirk turns into John Elway at the end of games. And I think we all forget that, like, in the first 3 quarters, the Vikings offense is pretty bad, And so, again, that can all change. He's talented. They have great receivers. And actually, KJ Osborne being a great receiver helps. But without Patrick Peterson, Michael Pierce being questionable, them already having a bad run defense and now having 2 bad corners starting, like, if they don't come out trying to score points, like, right away, Dallas is going to lap them, given how well they played.
You make a compelling argument. Here's my concern. The Cowboys are getting a lot of love. A lot of love. They had to win in overtime against New England last week. And Dak Prescott hurt his calf. I am a little concerned about, in a game where I think, interestingly, I think the Vikings, it's weird because I agree with all your points, but I also think they're being underrated offensively. And maybe that's just because they've been efficient, offensively. But you look at their schedule. So they lost to Cincinnati by a field goal. They lost to Arizona by 1 in Arizona. Beat Seattle with Russell Wilson
by multiple scores. Yep.
They lost.
Impressive win.
Yeah, they lost to Cleveland 14-7, and that kind of weird game, very weird game. They beat Detroit by 2.
They needed a last-second hero drive by Cousins to beat Detroit. Yeah.
And they just beat Carolina by 6.
They gave up a 95-yard drive to Sam Darnold in a 2-minute drill. Yeah.
Yeah, which doesn't look great now, having seen Carolina. So I can get on board with it. I am just a little bit concerned about Dak. Trayvon Diggs is questionable with an ankle. He's going to play. I'm not concerned about that. So I can get on board with it. Before we pick our lock of the week, it's that time. I've extolled this product many, many times. I used it earlier today. Because you've got to look good, and you've got to feel good as well. And sometimes those things go hand in hand, and Manscaped has got you covered regardless of whether you're trying to just feel good, you're trying to look good as well. The Lawnmower 4.0, it's here. It's brand new. It's 10 times better than the old one. I've talked about it a million times. I'm just going to say it again. The battery life is fantastic. I'm about to be on the road. I'm going to be traveling multiple times. I probably won't have time to charge it all for like a week. And I'm not worried at all. I'm not going to take it out of the suitcase. It's going to be just fine. It's got a lovely light. You can see anything, no matter where I am. You're in good shape. And they've got a lot of other good stuff too. Eric, your favorite thing is the nose hair clipper thingy-mabobber. And that's huge for someone like you. Like no offense here, but if you took like a regular clipper and were trying to trim your nose hair, I am very worried for what would happen.
Well, it's also that you're not as tall as me, so people aren't looking up your nose the way they are me. Like it's a tactical thing too.
I've never even thought of that. Promo code is PFF, manscaped.com. You get 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped and any other products. They have some other good stuff too. Some of like the deodorants and other stuff they have is really quality. I use that as well, but can't recommend the Lawnmower 4.0 enough. Okay. The lock of the week. I've never felt less sure about a lock of the week.
Well, there aren't any teaser options, so we can't go to that.
Can't tease. And look, I do like some player props. I'm not seeing a lot out for some of the Sunday games. And I hesitate to make a Thursday night lock of the week, just value to the people. Although, look, let me just say this. I told you about the Aaron Rodgers over passing touchdowns, plus 160 last week.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, plus 151, over 2.5 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. Like that. Love the Aaron Rodgers rushing yards. So you're welcome. I just had to throw those out there. But
I can't think of a better well to go to.
Oh, God.
than fading Kirk Cousins in prime time.
Eric, I'm with you. It's time to root inexplicably for Dak and CeeDee Lamb and our friend Mike McCarthy. Now, I got to say this. This is a full disclosure. If you do not like to sweat, don't follow us with this lock of the week. Mike McCarthy is going to punt and kick at every inopportune time. And we are going to ride on the back of Dak Prescott and his MVP train here. This is a big game.
I think Zimmer is going to be even worse than,
that's a good point.
McCarthy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is the Dak Prescott MVP coming out party.
Less than a field goal. -1.5 will grade it. We got an extra point here. If you want money line, it's like -130. Let's go.
Let's get it. The lock of the week, the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football with our friend Chris Collinsworth on the game. That's our podcast. We'll be back live after Sunday Night Football, either very happy or not so much. Either way, it's going to be a great show. We love you all. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll see you guys on Sunday night. Peace.